Hi, I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
There he is, live from Nashville. If you're watching Facebook Live or YouTube Live, it's Drew Dixon. And I want to read this. I'm going to read this bio here because it's pretty amazing. Listen to this. Drew Dixon is a team leader at Lifeway Christian Resources, co-founder and chief content nerd of Love Thy Nerd, public speaker, co-host of Humans of Gaming, editor, author, and has traveled all over the world to spread the gospel at nerd conventions. He's got a new book out. It's called Know Thy Gamer. We'll tell you how you can get it in just a few. Drew, wow, what a bio.
Yeah, really.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't know who writes these things, but I appreciate it.
And I love the title, Chief Content Nerd. That's awesome.
Yeah, we like to have fun with those titles. I Love Thy Nerd. So
yeah.
Okay, so go ahead and give us a definition. Now, we probably all have different definitions, maybe. Well, how do you become a nerd? What is the classification? What?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's all kinds of nerds these days, right? You have car nerds who are really into cars, and book nerds and everything else. But at Love Thy Nerd, we're thinking of people who are into kind of geeky hobbies. So things like video games and board games and anime and comics and superhero movies, all those, Star Wars, Doctor Who, all those things are kind of what we're thinking when we talk about nerds. And we think it's a huge subset of people in our culture, massive. And it's one that I think kind of the church either kind of thumbs their noses at or just kind of ignores altogether.
Mm-hmm. And I love that we're talking to you about this because my son, who's a senior in high school, I wouldn't say he's a nerd, but he loves playing video games. He still plays Minecraft. I still don't get the whole Minecraft craze, but maybe I'm a little too old for it. But he loves doing that stuff, and I love that. You've brought something together where it's gamers and the love of Christ, and you're bringing them together, and I love that. So thanks for what you do, Drew.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's really important work. I think all of our interests and hobbies, and maybe even obsessions, for the sake of sounding idolatrous, obviously we want to be careful, but we want to be careful about our hobbies. But at the same time, like, those are opportunities for mission. And so, yeah, I hope that what we do at Love Thy Nerd actually opens people's minds to all kinds of ways you can love and serve your neighbor and point them to Jesus.
Yeah, love it.
Drew Dixon, Know Thy Gamer, the book's out, and we'll tell you how you can get it in just a few. Drew, I have a 33-year-old son, and I have a 20-year-old son, and they are both gamers. And one of their girlfriends is into anime. Well, in fact, both of them are into anime. I didn't realize anime was that. I'm 62, so I'm going. Oh, I remember old anime from back in the 60s with Speed Racer, right? And I didn't know it was anime, but this anime thing has just gone crazy.
Huge.
And my oldest son still plays. I mean, he's a gamer. He makes a lot of money, not gaming, but he's got a career. His soon-to-be wife, and he's doing well. Yeah. And you would think, right, in an old mind, I don't anymore, but it's like, oh, this will just kind of wear off. But they're still full-on tilt boogie playing games.
Yeah,
fact, my 20-year-old plays it upstairs still, and I can hear him yelling at other people. I thought there was a riot the first time I heard that. It's crazy.
Well, what you're saying is actually, I think we'll probably give, because my book is aimed at parents, and primarily parents of younger children than yours. But your oldest child is an example that I think will give some hope to some listeners out there, because a lot of parents have this fear that my kid is so into video games that they're going to like ruin their life. They're never going to make something of themselves. Like, they won't have a steady job. Like they'll drop out of college. They'll never move out of my basement. Those kinds of things. And so the fact that you have a son who's well out of, well into the workforce, making good money, taking care of himself, and still plays video games, but is not, not a not a deadbeat, actually quite successful, I think will probably provide some encouragement. Yeah. So parents, if you're listening out there, the vast majority of kids who are really into video games, yeah, they end up being okay. So,
And the name of the book, go ahead.
No, that is because I mean, you touch on something. No doubt, you've talked to parents. I mean, every parent, I'm sure. I mean, like Dan has said, it doesn't. Some of the things Joshua does, like Elijah, my youngest, is like, okay, well, that means spending hours, but it's a hobby that they can do, and there's something on the other side of it. And as Dan mentioned, I love that you bring Christ into it. And as you say here in the bio, that you're able to minister to people on all levels around the world. But I'm sorry, Dan, and I cut you off. What was your question? I just want to make a comment.
No, I was just gonna start talking about the book, Know Thy
Yeah.
Gamer, and again, I love the title. Your titles are very creative and draw people in, and I love that. So Know Thy Gamer. I love the fact that parents oftentimes feel like they almost don't know their kids because they're so into the games and they play for so many hours, just endlessly. And for a society that's so full of supposed ADD people, my son can sit and watch that for hours and hours. Not only play a game, but watch on YouTube at the same time somebody playing the game and get clues on how to play it. So what is it about Know Thy Gamer that you want parents to take away?
Yeah, well, I think it's in some ways it's kind of summed up in the title. I want parents to know their children better. It's really hard to love someone without taking a deliberate, genuine interest in what they're into. So, if you're really into fly fishing, I don't know, it's just a random example, but every time we get together and you tell me about your fly fishing trips, I just check out and I'm just like, whatever. There's Dan going on about his fly fishing trips. Like that's not endearing you to me or me to you. That's not building a relationship. And I think parents are really good at taking a genuine interest in their kids with things like sports generally, or like the arts. If you have a kid who's really into piano and you were into piano when you were younger, then like it's really easy to bond over that. But with video games, for a lot of parents, if they didn't grow up playing them, it's a whole different world, and it feels so foreign. And a lot of parents have these stereotypes and assumptions about video games that they're going to ruin their kids, and so there's tension constantly in the home around video games. And so rather than video games being a potential source of connection, a way it can grow in my love and affection and relationship with my child, they become a source of disorder. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can be a really concerned parent who has genuine, valid concerns about your child's hobbies, video games or whatever else, while still loving them, taking an interest, being curious, and building a relationship. And so I want to help parents like do both those things. Keep being concerned, keep being careful, keep being really discerning, but also don't assume this is evil. Get involved, get invested, get to know your child. And that will help. If they know you love them, if your children know you love them, then they're going to be a lot more receptive when you set down rules, when you give guidelines, when you have to step in and give consequences even for like poor behavior around something like video games. If they know there's that care and interest, it's like, okay, I can accept this to some degree,
Yeah.
Drew Dixon, the book's called Know Thy Gamer. First game I ever played was Pong, Drew. It was it was amazing.
I mentioned that in my book, so yeah.
I played, as I mentioned, my oldest son, 33 now, when I think he was probably middle school, high school, whatever. We used to play James Bond, and it's so archaic. You think about it now, but it was cutting edge then. But we would play, and that's what I did. I really didn't want to play, honestly, but I did want to just hang with him. And and he wouldn't tell me the rules. So if you change your gun into a grenade where you click something, and he would never tell me that, and he'd blow me up. And I'm like, dude, How did you do that? Oh, well, you can, blah, blah, blah. But the beauty of it was, that didn't rattle my cage. But what I loved was the time that we spent with that and Madden football and just all that. So I think that's so cool that because you're right. There's this idea that, they're so violent. Everything's so violent and they're obsessed. And, like you said, they're going to end up in a basement somewhere, living in a van down by the river. Probably so. So your first game, Drew, what was your first game that you ever played?
My first, sure. My parents bought for themselves. My mom bought for herself and my dad a Nintendo Entertainment System, the original NES.
Ooh.
And we had Super Mario. Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt on that. That would have been my first. She thought it was going to be their thing. And then she played Mario a little bit. And my brother and I kind of adopted the Nintendo as our toy, so yep.
Yeah, we had the Nintendo. Played Mario. We played Tecmo Bowl. That was always a fun one that I used to love to play. And we go back. I go way back as in television. I saw people play Pong, but I was too young to play it. But it's just amazing how games have changed over the years, and I think that's part of what parents worry about is the shooter, active shooter type things like
sure.
I'm trying to think of the
Call
name
of Duty.
Call of Duty. Thank you.
Or Fortnite.
Things like that can get violent. So what do you tell parents about that who have those concerns, Drew?
Yeah, I mean, and I think they're all valid. They're valid concerns. Like, I care deeply about the kinds of content that my children consume, and I want to be a part of. I want to be a part of the conversation. I want to be a part of the process. If they whatever they play, I either want to be the gate that says yay or nay, we're going to allow this or not. But then I also want to be the person that when we do start to allow some things, as they get older, that I'm the one that they go to talk about it. Like, hey, I just experienced this and I don't know how to think through it. And as a follower of Jesus, I want to say, like, hey, here's some guidance. So yeah, I think for parents for now, you just kind of need to start thinking about, like, what do I want to allow my children to consume, and what do I not want to allow them to consume? As they get older, how's that going to change?
Right.
But once you've kind of thought through that a little bit, there's some great tools out there to help you make those decisions. ESRB.org is a great place to go. Just like movies are rated R or PG-13, there is a rating system for video games. All games are rated based on their content. And so, like, a mature 17 plus game would mean anyone 17 plus. I mean, you should be 17 or older to play this, right? And then there's games that are rated E10. It just means everyone 10 and up. And so ESRB.org would tell you some of that information. A website I like a lot, it's not a Christian website, but it is incredibly informative, is Common Sense Media. So commonsensemedia.org has very detailed reviews aimed at parents and tells you exactly what kind of content you're going to find in a given game. And then a final thing I'd mention is Twitch. So Twitch is where you go to watch people play video games. So it's a streaming service. Don't think Netflix, but you're actually watching. Like, I could watch Rick's kids play video games on Twitch if they streamed. I'd be watching them play live. But the reason that's a helpful resource is that you can go to twitch.com and then search for whatever game it is your kid wants to play. Let's say your child's like, I want to play the new Call of Duty. Well, you go and search for the name of the new Call of Duty game on Twitch, and you can watch someone play it. And just watching someone play it for 5 minutes or less would give you an idea of whether or not the content in the game is going to be appropriate for your child. So I kind of hesitate to say, hey, here's the exact games you shouldn't let your kids play. But what I want to do in the book is equip parents to be confident. Like, I can make these decisions. It's not that hard. With just a little bit of research, I can get to the bottom of what I think is appropriate or not for my child.
Drew Dixon, love talking about gaming. Know Thy Gamer. Dan, if it's okay, I'd love to keep him for another segment. We're pretty much running along on this one. We'll just carry him and take a break here. Hey, Drew Dixon with us. Drew Dixon has a new book out, Know Thy Gamer. He is also the co-founder and chief content nerd of Love Thy Nerd. he public speaks, and he does some other great stuff. LoveThyNerd.com is a great place to go to. Drew, we've been talking about the book, Know Thy Gamer, and I love this. You know, it's relationship, and I love how you pull that out. You're not focusing on, you know, maybe some of the things that, you know, the kids play, the games like Dan mentioned and I mentioned. I mean, I remember some of the kids playing all night long, which is crazy when they're in summer. That's what kids do. Hey, right? But this is, thanks for just grounding this and giving us knowledge and helping us with this. This has been out since what, September 6th. What have you heard so far, not only in the book, maybe folks that have read it or are reading it, but also you talk to so many people, parents, grandparents, whatever. What are they saying about your approach?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the most encouraging feedback I've heard is that like nobody's really written on this. Certainly not from a Christian perspective. And it's so common. Like I would say 8 or 9 out of 10 parents that I talk to, their kids play video games and they're not super happy about that. You know, like so many parents have kids who play video games and they have concerns. Almost every parent is concerned about the amount of time their kids are playing video games and the types of games they're playing. And so I think this book is a hugely needed resource. And few parents are thinking about this as an opportunity. Everybody sees it as a problem to be solved.
Yeah.
But they don't see the opportunity in there for connection.
That's good.
I think anytime we have to like step in and provide guidance for our children, those are opportunities for growth and for love and for guidance, not just we need to stop thinking of our children as problems, right? Like I say this in the book, but like a lot of parents are like, if my kids would just quit playing video games, then I would be a better parent. And I said in the book, like, if that's your mentality, like the first step you have is to work on yourself.
Yeah.
Because you have to love the children God's given you, not the children you want them to be. Don't love this idealized version of your child as you envision them being. Love the children that are there with you now that God's given you. And that means getting involved. Sometimes it means doing like what Rick talked about, like getting in there and playing James Bond with them and getting destroyed. You know? but we've got to go deeper than just you know, thinking, okay, if I set some rules around this, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Rules are pretty empty, I think, without relationship. That's the story of the Bible, right? God doesn't just throw rules at us.
Yeah.
He wants a relationship.
Drew Dixon, Know Thy Gamer is the name of the book, and Love Thy Nerd is a website. So let's talk a little bit about Love Thy Nerd. What can folks find there? And is it like, do you review games? Talk about what you guys do on LoveThyNerd.com.
Yeah, we have in the past reviewed games, but it's not the primary thing that you'll find there. There's a lot of educational resources about just understanding nerd culture, understanding board games, understanding anime, understanding video games. There's some parenting resources there. One of the big things that Love Thy Nerd does is there's a podcast network. So we have podcasts about all kinds of facets of nerd culture. There's a comic book podcast. There's Humans of Gaming, which I did, was just interviews with game designers. Actually, it's not going currently. It's on a break, and I'm not sure if it'll come back. But go back and listen to those old interviews. You might find some game designers you find interesting. But we actually interviewed them and talked to them about their spiritual beliefs. And then a huge part of what we do is going to conventions too, like going to Comic Cons and our board game trade shows and things. And we serve in those shows. We look for ways to build relationships with people. We'll host events, or we'll volunteer to work a booth of like a game development company. Will like demo their games as a way to just build relationships with those game designers and build relationships with people on the show floor. And we're just looking for ways to love and serve our nerdy neighbor.
Our nerdy neighbor.
It's amazing to me because we have those conventions here in Atlanta, which I'm sure you do as well in Nashville. And it's not just a handful of people that show up. I mean,
no, these are thousands.
The whole
of people.
city's like, come on. You know, so it's what a field to minister. Drew, again, thank you so much for what you're so wise. I love what you said. Rules without relationship, that's just empty, right? Good stuff. So, hey, if you've got a grandchild, a child, nephew, niece, somebody you're concerned about as far as games, I mean, he talked about anime, conventions, just all that. Check out the book. It's a really great book. And check out and knowthygamer.com, and then the nerd website, lovethynerd.com, the nerd website. That's what I just called it. Can you believe it?
The nerd website.
The nerd.
Yeah.
No offense taken.
We have a few seconds. Drew, what's next for you?
So I'm just gonna keep plugging along. I'm thinking about writing another book on video games, but maybe more with adults in mind, not just parents, but just all of us. So that's on the radar. Just plugging along. Back in school as well, so I'm actually going for another degree. So my life is crazy right now.
Wow.
Well,
how do you have time to do anything then, Drew, if you're in school and all that?
I don't. Yeah, the only time I play video games these days are with my kids. People are like, you wrote a book about video games. What's your favorite game? And I used to play a lot, and I still love it. But now it's like Mario Kart with my kids. So
yeah.
Mario
Kart, I can do that. Minecraft, not so much, but Mario Kart I can do.
I love watching the boys, the older one and the younger one, play Mario Kart. They usually go. It ends up being blows at the end, but no, they love each other and they have a great time. Drew, love to talk to you again. Maybe in December if you're up for it. Late November, early December.
Let's do it.
We'll look at 2023 and see what's up. Check out the book. Check out the website, lovethynerd.com, and also knowthygamer.com. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
This is Faith Talk Live.